Today's Babel is Charlotte Bird. First of all, I know you to be a badass pattern maker, technical designer, friend, mother, and support. So I want to tell you why I wanted to interview you. When we first met at your party, where I got to showcase my pieces, it was the first party after I had been fired from a job that I really loved and wanted. And as a result, I started this little thing to do, fashion accessories. And you had the party, and I sold almost everything I made that day. Do you remember that party?
I do. I absolutely remember meeting you.
It
Completely
was so
and utterly.
awesome.
I remember being absolutely impressed with our interactions and conversations and laughing and thinking you were really vibrant and interesting. We discussed making a raincoat, like a beige Hermes trench mac, but inside lining it with Kama Sutra printed fabric, so that it was the whole idea of like, oh, it's a very conservative thing, but inside people were doing obscene and Kama Sutra positions, and we thought that was funny.
Obscene
and I
and
thought that you were great.
inspiring.
And we have made this invention, which to this day has not materialized in any of its forms, but I still think it's a great idea. Maybe we should do that.
Yes, actually, it's not a bad idea. Of course, when else do you need inspiration besides when it's raining? Something to look forward to.
Yeah, freezing, the internet is freezing.
Yeah.
It could be me, my end, talking of freezing, because since Austin's terrible snowstorm last week, internet has been a little intermittent. I'm thinking perhaps the weather and the snow and the freeze did something a little to the cables. Yeah, you can edit the freezing out, I figured.
Yeah. So tell me, I know that you wanted to be in fashion, and as a technical designer or pattern maker, did something happen? Was there some sort of defining moment?
How I got to be in fashion, did you ask? It was a little glitchy how I ended up in the fashion world. Yeah. I started out way back 40,000 years ago. In my teen years, fashion was a very expressive, creative, the whole Duran Duran 80s post-punk self-expression thing going on, and I was in my little peer group where the cool wild kids, and I remember discovering secondhand shops, and lots of the clothes that had been from previous generations handed off as never to be worn again were just exquisite. I thought they were so beautiful, and my passion was ignited more so by them. I also had obviously always as a kid done dress up and playing and so on and so forth. My grandfather worked as he was a creative director in a store in England, doing beading and gowns for basically for aristocracy, very, very high end, fancy stuff. And he was this, with hindsight, he was a role model. He had this machine that was like a giant, it looked like a drill, but it was actually a perforating machine that traced the path for the beading to occur, which is where the hand stitching happened. Not that he did the hand stitching, but he was creating designs. And he used to have all these little scrap-lit bits of fabric with these incredible beaded pieces, which were, I presume, old samples, and then occasionally little pieces. And as a kid, I was always intrigued with these things and wrapping bits of scarf around my head. And then later as a teenager, finding the secondhand stores, I distinctly remember finding a beautiful full-length red knitted dress made of ribbon. It was actually knitted ribbon, and of course nothing that a 16-year-old would wear as a long red dress. So I bought it for a wee smidgen. Of course, economics dictates our sense of style, right? So and I bought that for a smidgen of pocket money and cut it, just whacked it short, my very first thing, and made this mini, bright red, you know, it was like a post-punky kind of new romantic period of time, bright, shocking red dress, and wore it with shocking red pumps and bright red lipstick. That's it. So it was kind of a Hepburnish type punky thing going on. And so many people were like, oh my God, you look amazing. That's awesome. And it was the beginning of my ego. Like, I did this for me, like I made this. So I kind of married the two together, the love of something that was already there and existing, the intrigue, and then coupled with the self-expression. And then I could utilize, as I said, my craftiness, which I've always been an arty, crafty, makey kind of kid.
Yes, you're very creative.
You know, way back. As a super maker, everything and anything that it satisfied all these little departments and went together. And then around the age of 16, scouted by model agent. And I spent from the age of 16 to 24, 25, work in the international circuit. So I was very privileged to be immersed in a very high fashion capacity, everything from, you know, small independent designers to it was when the Japanese were busting onto the market. That was my strong market. You know, Issey Miyake and Hanamori and Junko Kushino and designers such as that were emerging, putting Tokyo as a national world market, my niche and my period of time. And so I absorbed and acknowledged and participated in fashion in that capacity. So it's always run in my life. So ultimately, as I'm aging, I decided that I wanted to play fashion and learn more. And I could sew and make and do things, but I wanted to train. So I went and got myself a degree in fashion design, merchandising, you know, all of it, the whole thing. And then coming out of school, that's how I've ultimately become who I am, what I do for my rent paying bread and butter money. There's things I do for me, but my job was nurtured through my fashion path. So primarily now I'm a technical designer / pattern maker, product developer. So my capacity input in any kind of company, be it corporate, be it a small independent designer, is to help develop the product from idea into reality in a manufactured capacity that it can be repeated over and over again with consistency.
For production.
So that's what I do. That's what I've evolved to do. And I'm very comfortable. I like it. You know, I'm very fortunate to be able to do something I like. And then, you know, I do all kinds of other little things.
Yeah,
that's
you do.
My work.
You're very creative.
We're centering around our work.
Yeah. What's the most fun thing you've ever done? Like project?
Oh, Lordy.
Or the most fun.
Lordy, Lord.
That you're like, yeah.
Oh, goodness. That I made? Something that I've made?
Sure. Something that you made, you mean or something that you did, or a project that you worked on, or
it's a little nuts, but I made an entire collection for a company on a crazy deadline within 4 weeks.
Wow.
And single-handedly made every pattern and directed the sample sewers to create so that they could meet taking it to market. It was, it was extremely stressful, but at the same time, extremely challenging for me, in a really fun way. You know, I really liked that. Like, this is the deadline. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to achieve. And it was, I don't know, maybe I had mania or something that needed to be channeled into a creative point. But I look back on that and I look at all the pictures. I'm like, I did that in like 28 days.
How many pieces were in the collection?
Around 45.
God, that's crazy. Yeah, that's an awesome statement.
45, and that includes dresses and jackets. There were shorts, the pants, there were multiple pants, there were maybe 3 or 4 dresses, skirts. I mean, we weren't doing 45 t-shirts. We did full women's separate sportswear.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was very exciting, and looking back on that, I'm like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
What I enjoy for fun? Well,
Yeah.
COVID times.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, my fun thing, yeah. Right now, my fun thing, I'm teaching myself more computer digital arts. I've recently started expanding. I can make a basic pattern repeat,
Yeah.
and I'm expanding that. I want to up my abilities to, be lean more liberty
Right.
quilt shop.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, and basically concentrating on digital arts. I have access through, I'm teaching at the Austin Community College
Oh,
online,
I
of
didn't know
course, because
that.
of COVID.
Awesome.
Well, not at the community college itself. They have a fashion incubator program that's been
Yeah.
implemented with the city, and also a company called Gerber, who are the
Yeah.
premier source for the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So Gerber and the city of Austin and the Austin Community College have created a fashion incubator, and I'm fortunate to be one of the instructors and have access to all of the Gerber programs.
Brilliant.
So I'm nerding out at home on
Yeah,
my
you're getting
computer. That's
everything
for fun.
online.
It's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing that's for fun. So that's my,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
doing well, then I guess I
yeah.
won't feel so
It's
bad that you moved away before we got to do our trench coat because now you could just virtually do everything.
Yeah,
Now
I
we
can make
know.
one and just send it.
I know.
That is, it seems to me that's the way of it. This whole COVID influence has, of course, influenced our work environments in very many capacities. And as I see it, the fashion industry was evolving in that direction
Yes.
anyway,
Anyway,
and
yes.
lots of people I think were a little bit anxious to really do that. People be like, oh, can you do an online fitting? I don't think I want to. But when they're forced to do it and try it, now
They
they're
do
like,
it.
online fitting, no.
Well, everybody always wants to know, where do you get your inspiration? How do you come up with ideas? Um,
Wow, Lordy. I was thinking about this just recently because of the restrictions that we have. I was walking my dog, and I just had a little realization. There are so many when life slows down, which it has in its external stimulus. There is so much that can light up and inspire. I was walking around there, and I was just seeing so much inspiration that I actually, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my God, I could put together a collection called the Joy of the Mundane. I mean, on the pathway, it's just a cement path. The two textures of the cement path, I was immediately thinking, well, that would be a good texture to put over a repeat on a tile that I've made to give it some depth. And then I was looking at the bricks, and I've got nature, of course, taking pictures of nature in all her seasons for color inspiration. Oh, lordy, color inspiration. But texture and form, and then being able to take images and put filters on them and manipulate them. I mean, I really do think that inspiration is very easy to find.
for you, but how is that?
Like I said, mania, maybe. It's so busy in
Yeah,
here.
you have a busy mind, but it's organized somehow because you're actually quite successful. And so somehow you're able to take all the noise and make it marvelous and make it badass.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
I don't know, actually. If I have to analyze that, it's I see, you see that, and that's very beautiful and very complimentary and makes me feel very nice. I inside there think opposite. I think there's quite a bit of chaos. I'm walking the dog, but at the same time I'm like, oh, that would be a fabric, and then I'm like, oh, and I'll put that in the color palette. And like you said, the noise is on, and it's hard for me to make the noise shut up, which I think is also why I like to be in the space of, I call it the space of make, because that's very meditative for me. When I concentrate on whatever it is I'm doing, it essentially shuts off all the babble of the other things, which is why for me, I really enjoy technical design, because being in a very it's almost like a mathematical, scientific, logical head of problem solving, puzzle making, and creating the same place of make.
Yeah.
Because it's a very similar place, you know, when you're making a drawing, a picture, and you get wrapped up in color and texture and line and form. It's you're just, that's the world that exists. That's my meditative headspace. I just live there. Nothing else exists, and it's a very special place, for want of a better word, a holy place for me.
Yeah.
And similarly, when I work in my mathematical profession of calculating to make things, there are rules and regulations and confines, because you can't do certain things in a technical capacity.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as free range as a drawing. You know, you can draw, say for example, you can draw a collar that sticks up like this, and the woman's got legs this long and her body's this big, and it's fantasy.
Right.
But you're held in the confines of reality. That I find that control, probably that isolated concentration and control of what it is I'm trying to achieve, helps me to gives me a kind of a peace and strength and rejuvenation from my usual default when I'm not doing that, of like, woo, craziness galore,
The
you know,
parameters help.
hyperstimulation. Yes,
If the world was just a free open reign, you might just run around in circles, basically.
yes, I would be like a man.
And listening to you put those in frame it that way in the parameters of technical specs and pattern making. And I think that's why I enjoy so much costing and the business side of it, and the reporting that I get out of books and my CRM and stuff, is because managing the part of the business, there's definite structure to it, and it gives me freedom, oddly enough, in my creative space. I could be the nutty professor, and it's okay, because I'm handling this other area over here that's really kind of organized and restrained, I guess. So I like that analogy, the way you put it. It's interesting to think of that. So moving to the business side, so you have a lot of experience. You've used a lot of different tools. You've gained a lot of knowledge. You've taken a lot of classes and seen a variety of things. What do you think?
I lost it again.
What do you think is your best tool for success?
Truth, honesty, and kindness.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. The very foundation of being a good human. Yeah.
Truth, honesty, and kindness, for sure, for sure.
Okay, so I guess my final question then is, how do you show up as a badass boss lady? What would your employees say?
They would say that I'm knowledgeable. I've been told I'm very knowledgeable, that I'm funny, that I'm kind, and that I encourage my my peers, my group, to collaborate, that they feel empowered, not not bossed.
Well,
I don't like being I'm not really myself. I don't consider myself a boss, but I consider myself a teacher. It's a very subtle difference. I have had many interns and younger people working with me that have learned things that I've showed them, and equally much so, I have learned very much from them. And I think that that is a really important thing in boss lady leadership, whatever you call it, taking control.
Definitely.
Is being very strongly committed to recognizing collaboration.
That's you know what, that's perfectly well said. I find that there's so much more success in collaboration than in what I call Lone Ranger working or thinking or creating.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you did for me by creating a party with a bunch of collaborative people. And you just kind of opened this space for me where
Losing you again.
I could have some wins and some successes. And I felt very confident in that space and willing to move forward. So coming full circle, I'm thanking you again for opening your house and being collaborative.
It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. Sorry that we're cutting out. It's a little choppy. So I hope that you can hear me now. Yeah, I want to thank you.
Now,
So, okay.
face talk, diver talk.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge, how you show up, and not just for me or professionally, but also for your friends and your family. And you hold a really good space for people. And that is a badass boss lady. And you take care of business with humor and this sense of fun and excitement. So thank you, Charlotte, so much for inspiring me and being a part of my life.
Well, I feel likewise. I
Thank
really
you.
do. See,
Yeah,
this is the magic that I'm talking about.
this is magic. Yeah,
Beautiful mutual interactions. It's priceless.
yeah, it
It's the
is.
best paycheck ever.
Absolutely. Amen. And
It's
hopefully
really
we
good.
can inspire other people through our BABL campaign. So thank you for tuning into this BABL story.
Yeah.
Remember to elevate those badass boss ladies in your life and share your own badass boss lady story using the hashtag BABL, BABL. So thank
Yes.
you,
And
Charlotte.
we will make a raincoat one day.
Yes, we will.